Hello and welcome to this special episode of Africa Matters from Djibouti. I am Adesewa Josh. Djibouti's strategic location in the Horn of Africa has made it home to more foreign military bases than any other country in the world. This week, I sit down for an exclusive interview with President Ismail Omar Guelleh, who is serving his fifth term in office, to discuss how he is navigating domestic, regional, and international politics. Djibouti is a tiny country with a population of just over 1 million people, but it arguably punches above its weight in a turbulent neighborhood. It's managed to remain largely stable, unlike Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Somalia, its landlocked neighbors, and Yemen, located across the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb, which means Gate of Tears in Arabic because of its risky navigation. And vessels carrying goods between Europe and Asia, as well as oil from the Middle East to Europe and North America, go through it before entering Egypt's Suez Canal. It also hosts the largest U.S. military base in Africa, China's first overseas base, and Japan's first military base since the Second World War. Former colonial power France has troops in the country, and so does Italy. Beyond vested trade and security interests, their presence has been critical to the fight against piracy and the Al-Shabaab terrorist group in the region. In an exclusive interview with President Ismail Guelleh, I began by asking him about Somalia's appeal to the United Nations to delay the withdrawal of the African Union peacekeeping mission in Somalia, ATMIS, that's helping its fight against Al-Shabaab by 3 months.
These coming months are crucial. Otherwise, we will see the repetition of Afghanistan when American troops withdraw from the country without preparing. So this one is it will be more the hope of all the people will be put down. So
you support the extension?
We need to have at least 3 months to accept that the African troops should go home.
Djibouti recently became the chair of IGAD.
Yes.
And you are the leader. And under your leadership, it took on a very ambitious peace mediation process in Sudan. It's been 5 months.
Sudan?
Yeah.
In Sudan?
Yes. 5 months on, I just wanted to know if you think you're making progress on that issue.
It's a very sensitive question. It's a very sensitive problem. Very difficult to approach because of the involvement of so many partners and so many actors. Sudan is now in a very bad shape. We are looking for resolving this problem by dialogue, not by force. Without dialogue, there is no peace. Without dialogue, there is no understanding of the problem. Without dialogue, there is no way to achieve our goals and see the peace for the sake of the people of Sudan.
You know, the Ethiopia Renaissance Dam crisis is rocking the region again, with Egypt recently expressing discontent over the filling of the dam. I know how connected Ethiopia is to Djibouti, and Djibouti, Ethiopia, how important you are to each other's economy. And I was wondering, at the time that the crisis was boiling over, what steps did you take to simmer tensions? And now that it looks like it is starting up again, what will you do to make it go away?
Egypt and Ethiopia hundreds or thousands of years together, sharing water and Nile, and religion. And it is يعني normal that two so close two countries had problems in their relations. The dam is here now. It's a reality. How to deal with it? Has in Egypt been harmed till now? No. We didn't knew that. But without dialogue, without understanding of the two positions, Ethiopians say we need to develop our country with this water that we never touched. Egypt said it's a question of lifeline.
You know, at the heart of this crisis is the scramble for energy autonomy and also the sharing of water, a very vital resource in the region. All right. And I was wondering, you know, what sort of role the newly launched Djibouti power farm, you know, the power wind farm would play, if any.
It is our long journey to be self-sufficient in power and especially green power. We have projects of sun, which will start the coming 3 months or more less. We have geothermal programs. We have wind, and we have the interconnection with Ethiopia also. All these elements should lead to the autonomy and independence of energy.
What do you make of the wave of coups blowing across former French colonies in Africa? Are you surprised or concerned?
Now it's time also to revise the relations of France with the African countries. They have tried to explain, but they didn't listen. Yes. So now France is obliged
to listen.
Yes, to understand or to try to understand why Russians came yesterday and took over the partnership and cooperation with France, with African countries. Now, I think the leaders in leadership in France should understand how they can create a new atmosphere, a new partnership as free countries who can decide for themselves and for their future.
As president, what would you like your legacy to be?
We must count only for our intelligence and find the way to develop our country using our own and find the resources to be self-sufficient.
How would you describe your relationship, Djibouti's relationship with Turkey?
With?
Turkey.
Turkey, yes, the new term.
It's Turkey.
Turkey. Mm-hmm. When Erdogan became president, he put his country on the good track and legitimate track. And as a Middle East country, as Euro-Asian country, as a very sensible. We call in French sensible. For the relations with African countries, Muslim countries. So it's good relations and leadership of Turkey in our region is more than satisfactory. So we want to develop, enhance relations profitable for all of us.
President Ismail Guelleh, thank you so much for speaking to TRT World.
Now, let's turn our attention to the backbone of the country's economy. Djibouti ports are a gateway into East Africa and a vital shipping lane connecting Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Initially built to serve neighboring Ethiopia's import needs, the country is now expanding its port operations to attract new trading partners and aims to become a global shipping hub. I went to find out exactly how they plan to achieve this. Djibouti has been a major maritime passage between the East and West for centuries, serving as a transit route for merchants, mostly from Egypt, Rome, Greece, and the Arabian Peninsula. But since independence in 1977, Djibouti ports have evolved to primarily meet the growing needs of its landlocked neighbor, Ethiopia, with investments in an electric railway that transports more than 90% of Addis Ababa's import and export trade.
We are saving Ethiopia. We are saving South Sudan. We hope we are going to save Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and eastern part of Congo. Congo is a huge country, but they have only 40 kilometers of sea coasts on the Atlantic.
East African economies are forecast to be the fastest growing on the continent between now and next year, championed by Rwanda, Uganda, Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, and Djibouti, according to the African Development Bank. Djibouti's economy relies heavily on the strategic location of its ports, at the intersection of the Red Sea and the Gulf of Eden. About a third of all daily global shipping passes through this strait, making it one of the busiest sea lanes in the world. With 6 ports in total and the 7th one nearing completion, Djibouti's finance minister Ilyas Musa Dawale says his country is now ready to scale up operations and welcome new trading partners.
We are working ourselves in making sure that our development doesn't depend on Ethiopia exclusively. That is not acceptable. This is what we are doing, and this is why we invested heavily in transshipment traffic. Now, a couple of gantry cranes to handle the latest, biggest vessels in the world.
More than 70 countries, including Turkey, currently trade across the Djibouti ports. Vice Chairman of the Turkey-Djibouti Business Council, Volkan Kasova, expects they will soon serve as a corridor for new shipping opportunities in the Middle East.
We are expecting a big peace in the Middle East, and it means that after that there will be a lot of investment, lots of reconstruction, rebuilding of these countries. So Djibouti will be the main port.
If so, the government is betting on the installation of its state-of-the-art shipping technologies to meet demand. But for a tiny country of just over 1 million people, its biggest challenge may be a lack of skilled labor, though the government says it's already training and recruiting young people. And now we head to Niger, where military leaders say they welcome the announcement by French President Emmanuel Macron that his country will withdraw its troops and ambassador by the end of the year. It comes 2 months after a coup toppled the Nigerian government backed by France. Rahul Radhakrishnan reports.
A queue at Benin's border with Niger stretches for kilometers. This road was a major trading route in West Africa until 2 months ago. It now serves as an emblematic visual for the fallout Niger's neighbors are facing from heavy sanctions imposed in Niamey. Those sanctions were imposed by ECOWAS, a 15-member regional bloc, after a coup replaced the elected president, Mohamed Bazoum, with the military junta on the 26th of July. Meanwhile, negotiations to restore civilian rule in Niamey are approaching a stalemate. The junta is demanding a 3-year transition period. But ECOWAS wants Bazoum's immediate reinstatement, threatening a military intervention if not.
If we can avoid a peaceful restoration of constitutional order in the country, swiftly, that is our preferred option. But we have to prepare for all eventualities.
Bazoum was seen as a pro-Western leader who defended France's involvement in the Sahel region. On Sunday, France's president said that he will recall his ambassador to Niger and withdraw all his troops from the country by the end of the year.
Frankly, from the get-go, I would say France took up a responsibility that it would be unable to meet. The size of the Sahel, the challenges that are inherent within the Sahel, and then thirdly, the inability of the national governments that we're discussing to also provide for the basic needs of their citizens means it would be impossible for the France as a single entity to address.
The news was welcomed on the ground.
We are really happy because we are fighting against the presence of French forces in Niger. We want them to leave our country. I'm very happy.
The U.S. says it will now evaluate the next steps for the roughly 1,100 troops stationed in the country.
We really want to see a diplomatic solution evolve. We want to see a peaceful end to the crisis, and most important, we want to see preservation of Niger's diplomatically elected government. And so while we give diplomacy a chance, we'll also continue to evaluate any future steps that would prioritize both our democratic and our security goals. But these goals are intertwined.
Anti-Western and anti-French sentiment is on the rise in the region, prompting concerns of instability across the Sahel. But for now, things are calm in Niamey. The economic turmoil felt by Nigerians, however, is slowly making its way beyond the country's borders. Rahul Radhakrishnan, Africa Matters.
In Sudan, dates and other agricultural products once formed the foundation of the pre-war economy, with most workforce employed in the sector. But months of conflict have inflicted a downturn, adding more woes to the country's economy, as Remesa Choda reports.
Every autumn, date farmers in Sudan secure a living for the months to come with their harvest. But 5 months into the war, the country's economic infrastructure has become a casualty, leaving the livelihoods of many in peril. Huzaifa Yusuf was planning to study in India, but the outbreak of the violence meant the sacrifice of his dream.
I studied at the Faculty of Radiology and Medical Imaging in the National University. I worked in the East Nile Hospital as well as the Soba Hospital. I was going to India to get my master's degree, but due to the war, I was obliged to return to the northern state to help the state residents with the date harvest.
The bloody conflict between the Sudanese armed forces and the paramilitary rapid support forces has plunged the country into chaos. It's resulted in at least 7,500 deaths, left more than 5 million displaced, and has also been responsible for what experts call the deindustrialization of the country. Constant airstrikes and street battles have left the capital largely off limits to traders, and the price of dates has collapsed, with fuel shortages severely hindering the ability to transport goods.
Data prices are low because there is no demand in the market. And especially this year, buyers are scared and refuse to buy from us because the main and the closest market was in Khartoum. We're trying to find new markets, even though it's going to be more expensive.
Across the country, small farmers no longer have access to funding, buyers can't move their stocks, and major players in the agricultural industry have thrown in the towel.
We need the government to support farmers and provide agricultural guidance to enable the use of scientific methods in agriculture, including harvesting and storage, to ensure high-quality production.
Sudan is the world's largest date producer, growing more than 460,000 tons per year. It was already struggling to ensure food security for its 48 million inhabitants as one of the poorest nations in the world. With nearly 6 million people approaching famine, urgent steps must be taken. Rumeysa Chodar, Africa Matters.
And our last stop is the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The country has the fourth largest population in Africa. And the World Bank says 3 out of 5 people there live on less than $2 a day, forcing many children to try to survive on the street. But some of them are turning their pain into hope using music. Bushra Goktash reports.
Adesewa Josh is one of tens of thousands of children who live in the streets of DRC's capital, Kinshasa. They've gone through trauma, aggression, and sexual abuse for years. And now Ose gives their struggles a voice through music.
When we sing here, it is to get a message across. All our songs are about the realities we live in the street. For example, this song I have just recorded. It tells our friends that each thing has a beginning and an end. We cannot remain in the street all our life.
Street children are locally known as Shiguis, and this cultural center is a haven for them, offering safe shelter, somewhere to wash, eat and learn. There are also workshops that help them to work through their pain.
The Mukilina Pocha Cultural Center is a space that offers cultural, artistic and educational programs. And on the educational side, it's really a very large scope that encompasses painting workshops, drawing workshops and plastic recycling workshops. We are also bringing in music workshops.
19-year-old Mawakala has been coming here for the past 3 years, taking literacy, music and art classes. Unlike before, the students here are now full of hope.
It really makes me happy when I sing. It reminds me one of our teachers who gives us drawing training. He always says to us, friends, when you are working here in different workshops, think about what you are going to be tomorrow. And that's how I feel when I sing, especially in the studio during recording. I see myself as Lil Wayne, the American rapper, and sometimes that encourages me, and I tell myself, life belongs to the brave.
Although the small cultural center is not enough to solve all the social problems in the DRC, it has the potential to reach thousands of children, raise awareness, and make a tangible difference in the everyday lives of many young people living on the streets of the capital. Bushra Goktash, Africa Matters.
And our city profile this week is Maiduguri in northeastern Nigeria. It was the old capital of the Kanem-Borno Empire, which was renowned for Islamic studies. But today, it is notorious for Boko Haram militant attacks and as the base of the insurgent group. Here's more. And that's our show from Djibouti. Please share your thoughts and suggestions about the stories you've seen on this episode or ideas on what you would like us to cover on X, formerly known as Twitter, using the hashtag #AfricaMatters. Feel free to reach out to me on my personal handle at Adesewa Josh. You can find this episode and more on YouTube. Just search Africa Matters TRT World. Like, comment, and please don't forget to share. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next week.